إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله صلى الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأعمال حي على خير الأعمال الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي قارا ورزقي دارا وولادي أبرارا واجعل عند قبر نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال ذا الشان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحمه من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرقا وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى قد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الشهر الحرام بالشهر الحرام والحرمات قصاص فمن اعتدى عليكم فاعتدوا عليه بمثل ما اعتدى عليكم واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the piety and the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited is from Surah Baqarah, ayat number 194. Keeping in mind the month of Muharram al-Haram is upon us, and the month begins with the commemoration of the tragedy that took place almost 1400 years ago in the plains of Karbala, where the grandson of the Holy Prophet, Imam Hussein ibn Ali, alayhi salatu wassalam, along with his companions, according to some riwayat, 72, were martyred mercilessly, regardless of how old or young they were. And of course, this atrocity did not end over there when the family of Imam Hussein and the daughters and the granddaughters of Rasulullah were paraded from Karbala to Kufa and from Kufa to Sham as captives of war. And of course, the other significance of the atrocities that were committed, other significance of this Karbala, and that aspect of how people dealt with them, that even the people of these cities showed no mercy, and how they dealt with those who arrived into their cities. Of course, this is something which is a yearly reminder for us and something which we hold very dear to ourselves. And we hope and we anticipate and we wait every year for the beginning of the month of Muharram al-Haram, so that you and I are able to pay the Ajr Risalat, which Rasulullah asked in the ayat of Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Rasul to say to the people, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. O Prophet, tell them, I do not seek any assistance from you. I do not seek any compensation from you, except that you may show love and mercy and mawadda to my qurba, my family members. And of course, could there be anyone closer of a family member of Rasulullah than Imam Hussein? Could there be anyone closer at that time in the 61st year after Hijrah, anyone closer than Sayyid al-Shuhada, whom Imam Hussein, the one for whom Rasulullah had said, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein, that indeed I am from Hussein and Hussein is from me. In that reference, I recited this verse which talks about Shahrul Haram. Ayat number 194 says, Ash-Shahrul Haram bish-Shahril Haram. That indeed, the ayat, the concept behind it is fighting or war. It says fighting in the sacred month is for aggression committed in the sacred month, and for all violations is a legal retribution. So whoever has assaulted you, then assault him in the same way that he has assaulted you. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. And know that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who are the pious, those who are muttaqeen. There was this concept, and this is not something new, that these were the months in which there should not be any sort of aggression. No, there shouldn't be any aggression throughout the year. But specifically, as people came to know that there were times that even, of course, the warriors needed time off from long-standing these battles that were going on. So they would take time off, and these were the days and the ayyam out of respect that they would not even engage in any battle or war. So that's a time which is being mentioned. And there were penalties that were associated with it. If anyone engaged in any sort of aggression during these months, then the indemnity would be twice as much. Then the crime would be twice as much. And therefore, something to instill the fear. Of course, the hope was that with this pause that comes about in the middle of their fighting, and if it prolongs for a month long, maybe they'll forget about the war altogether. This was one way of stopping them from engaging into this constant war that they were going at each other, for numerous years. So this is in regards to the sacred month. One of those sacred months, of course, is month of Muharram al-Haram. Rajab, Dhiqa, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. Why these three on the trot? Because people used to go to Hajj in the month of Dhul Qa'dah. So they needed immunity, they needed safety, they needed security. They didn't want to be carrying arms with them when they're going to Hajj. So the ayat of Quran says you should not show any aggression toward anyone in these months. People will stay away from violating others. And then they would perform the wajibat of Hajj, and then when they would be returning back, it would be the month of Muharram. So they needed the security and the safety, likewise returning back home. So these three are on the trot like that, and month of Rajab. So Mujahideen and the soldiers and their families needed time off. This was the time off that was given in a way, imposing upon them that while you were fighting for so long, pause. You need to take rest. You need to stop. And because of this pause and this rest, maybe you'll think over it and you will not go to war altogether. Not all months are equal. Some are sacred. As ayat of Quran says, Ash-Shahrul Haram bish-Shahril Haram. The sacred months with these sacred months and the aspect of these sacred months. The loss of not paying attention to the sacred months returns to humans themselves. As the ayat of Quran concludes, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ, that do not show aggression toward your own nufus in these months. Meaning what? If you were to show aggression to someone else, that means this aggression is going to return back to you and come back to haunt you. So in Islam, war is never the solution. War was not a solution. That is the reason, these sort of ayat exist, to stop people from going to war, to stop any sort of aggression and trespassing. Rather, contemplation, evidence, wisdom, advice, sound, and peaceful life is something which is preferable. Hayatun tayyibah, as Quran talks about it on numerous occasions. Do you want aggression in your neighborhood? No, you don't. You want safety on your streets. Do you want aggression and crimes on your streets? No, you don't want it. Do you want aggression inside your house? No, you don't. You don't want it inside the house. You don't want it outside the house. Sometimes outside the house it might be safe, rather than sometimes inside the house, or vice versa. So you don't want this, anyone trespassing each other's rights, not outside, not inside, because that is the way of peaceful living. So therefore, Quran advises that Muslims have the right to defend even in these sacred months. So what does that mean? If non-Muslim who doesn't believe in these ayat, he shows aggression and he attacks you, he says, well, it's the month of Muharram. Quran tells us not to, fight in these months, so we're not going to fight. Let them kill us. No, it makes no sense. So you retaliate. There's no religion needed to tell you have the right to defend yourself, right? So you retaliate and you defend yourself because you need to protect yourself by all means. Unfortunately, the so-called Muslims of that time not only broke the sanctity of the Muhtaram, Haram, Shahrul Haram, the month which is sacred, but they attacked the most revered person and the most revered family, Imam Hussein and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. So you look at the extent of their offense. Not only that it is in the month of Muharram, which is sacred by Quran. No, Imam Hussein was not posing threat to Yazid or Banu Umayyah. Imam was in Medina. In fact, even the father of Yazid had told him, get allegiance from everyone except Hussein. He disobeyed his father's commands and he went after Imam Hussein. And so Imam Hussein had to leave the city of Medina to provide sanctity to the house and the city of Rasulullah. He took refuge where? In the city of Mecca, where people took refuge all the time, even in the time of Jahiliyyat. That at least you will not attack anyone in the house of Allah. If someone is after me or someone is using foul language, you come inside the masjid, you say, well, at least the sanctity of the masjid will prevent this person from using bad language. Outside, one character may be different over here. Imam Hussein went to where? The most sacred place on the face of the earth, Kaaba, Makkatul Mukarramah. Primarily so that there's no bloodshed. But of course, they had their people to go ahead and even try and kill Imam Hussein in Makkah while he was in the state of Ihram. They didn't care for that. Imam left for the sanctity of the city of Makkah and fled toward Kufa, where he had received all these letters. But of course, he couldn't make it to Kufa and he ended up being in Karbala. 10th of Muharram, it's the Shahrul Haram, ayat 194 from Quran, Surah Baqarah. It's Shahrul Haram. It's the month which is haram according to this ayat of Quran. It's a sacred month. Who is this individual? The most sacred of the individuals on the face of the earth. Is there more sacred, revered individual at that time alive? That's Imam Hussein. Is there any family that is more sacred than the family of Rasulullah, the Ahlul Bayt? Quran says, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّسَّ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. The Ahlul Bayt are mentioned in Quran. Who's amongst the Ahlul Bayt? Hussein is amongst the Ahlul Bayt. So look at their atrocities. The so-called Muslims, sanctity of the haram month, attack the most revered person of the most revered family. Therefore, it is important for us that we commemorate, that we remember this tragedy. But how do you remember this tragedy? this is where we need to discuss. This is where we need to shed some light upon. What is the history of this aza? History of majalis? First one by our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, who held a majlis for his father. The first opportunity that he got, formal opportunity. After Yazid had come and said and called for Imam Zainul Abidin, saying, now you're free to go. Free to go wherever you want to go. You want to stay here, you can stay here. You want to go back home, you can go back home. We'll provide all the necessities of the travel. Imam comes and does consultation with Sharikatul Hussain. She said, yes, we want to leave. We don't want to stay here at this awful place. We want to go back to the city of Medina. But before we leave, we want to go ahead and give condolence. We want to pay homage and tribute to the shuhada. The first majlis was established with the consultation of fourth Imam and Bibi Zainab. Look at the foundation of Majlis Aza. Then you say, why do we commemorate this majlis? Why do we have this Aza in the month of Muharram? Well, because Zainul Abidin is teaching us. Zainab Kubra is teaching us that this is how you go ahead and do this. Then in Medina, this majlis was then established. The Daylami tribe openly started Majalis Aza, and they would commemorate the Gham of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We find in times of fifth Imam, poets such as Kumayt, Asadi, who would recite the Ash'ar in the Aza of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Imam would make dua for Allahumma khfir li Kumayt. Oh Allah, forgive Kumayt for just merely him reciting the poetry, talking about the tragedy of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Looking from this aspect, Imam, as the tragedy unfolds and people who are telling the story, those who are speaking in prose and those who are speaking in poetry, all are now benefiting from this and they are contributing towards it. The Ubayd ibn Ali al-Khuzai, Shair of Ahl Bayt, in the time of Imam Rada, he recites the Ash'ar and Imam ﷺ praises him for all the poetry that he produced. The benefits that are associated with it, means of gaining religious knowledge. Every year when we get together for these first 10 days of Muharram, one of the objectives is to enrich ourselves with Islamic knowledge. To learn about usul, the furu, tariq, and fiqh. All of these things are highlighted in the lectures and the speeches. Number two, Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar becomes obvious to us. Why? Because Sayyid al-Shuhada set out, and the first shi'ar and the slogan that he gave was what? Inni a'muru bil ma'ruf wa anha anil munkar. Uridu an a'mura bil ma'ruf wa anha anil munkar. All I want to do is amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. So in these ayyam, we reminisce, we talk about, we remember what amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar is in these days and these nights. We talk about the fadail of masumin, and we talk about the radail of mukhalifin, so that we can take the fadail and adopt them and act on them. And we take the radail and stay as far away from them as possible. We take the good characters of Hussein and his companions and you walk with it. Characters such as altruism, ithar, how they sacrifice themselves. Characters such as when you show sabr and patience, and when you're thankful for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though you've given everything away in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we hear the sacrifice, we develop the sense of defending the haqq and standing up against batil. If it wasn't for that reminder, you see how many people stand up for haqq and batil today. While batil is constantly attacking, and people know who is on haqq in Palestine, yet we still see those who are complicit, they are not raising their voices because of their personal vendetta and because of their personal interests. So by hearing these masaib, you understand where haqq stands. You understand where batil stands. Do you develop a sense of empathy with the oppressor and the sense of enmity? You develop a sense of empathy with those who are being oppressed. And then you develop a sense of enmity towards those who are oppressing others. Majalis teach us zuhud, taqwa, sabr, and rada. These majalis are also evidence of the love for the Prophet's family. And that's not a recommendation, by the way. That is a wajib, an obligation, as Quran tells us. I recited that ayat earlier for you. That is the reason, one of the aqwal that we receive from our Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. He says, Shi'atuna min fadili tinatina, yahzununa lihuznina wa yafrahuna li farahina. Our followers are from the, teen, this clay that we are made of. They are from the same substance. Therefore, whenever we are joyful, they are joyful. When we are joyous, they are joyous. And when we are sad, they are sad. We know these are the ayyam that Ahlul Bayt went through difficult times. Someone might raise a question, it happened 14 centuries ago, you're still doing it. Regardless of how long ago it took place. These are the ayyam when Ahlul Bayt were subject to difficulty. Therefore, we're not going to go ahead and enjoy ourselves in these days. We're not making enjoyment haram. You have the rest of the year to go ahead and enjoy the tayyibat that Allah has placed upon you. Nobody's saying that things have become haram. Out of respect. I remember telling this story once that a child came up to me in one of these majalis that I was reciting, probably Dara Jafriya in Maryland. Child came up to me and he asked me a question outside before the majlis. He said, Maulana, can I play video games during the first 10 nights of Muharram? I said, what did your parents tell you? He said, my father said, no, I can't. I said, what is the reason that he gave you? He said, well, you just can't. Because it's the majalis and the first 10 days, the Ashra Ula and all that stuff. We have to go to majlis and we have to, be sad. I said, well, that was not a good enough, reason for a child. A 10-year-old, 11-year-old, they're not going to learn from this. They're like, I'll sneak around and I'll still play, for example. So out of nowhere, just a thought came to my mind, and I said, although I didn't want to disturb this 11-year-old, I said, imagine if someone close to you died today. Will you be playing your video games tomorrow? I said, God forbid, your father left this world today. Will you be playing video games tomorrow? I said, no, that would be the last thing on my mind. He said, will you be playing the day after? I said, no, that will still be the last thing. I'll be shocked. How long will you go? I said, I have no idea. 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, maybe more. I will not even think about playing it. I said, well, that's our family. That's our father. That's our mother. When they leave this world, this is how we feel. This is Ahlul Bayt who have beyond this haqq upon us. Right? So therefore, sort of made sense to the child. He said, now I understand. Why is it? We're imposing it upon ourselves, but out of respect. Just the same way you would do it when there was some natural tragedy. Some natural disaster had hit, and here we go ahead and enjoy ourselves. How would it look? Similar is the case when we commemorate this. So Imam said, إِنَّمَا شِيعَتُنَا مَنْ تَابَعَنَا وَلَمْ يُخَالِفُنَا. Our followers are those who follow us and don't do our mukhalifat. Our majalis and the intentions behind them, all of this wealth has come to us as a result of great sacrifice. This wealth of knowledge that has come to us. This deen that has come to us. It is marhoon minnat of the sacrifices of Sayyid al-Shuhada. As we hear this often, Deen Islam is Muhammadiyul Huduth, Husainiyul Baqa. Right? Huduth of this religion is from Prophet, no doubt about it. He's the one who brought this message to us. He's the last of the messengers. He brought this message. But let me give you the example. He left this world 11th year after Hijrah. Within 50 years, who's being killed? His own grandson. So he did bring the religion. Ayat of Quran are there, but they're being neglected. So who is going to be the baqa of this religion? Someone has to give sacrifice. And that was the sacrifice of Sayyid al-Shuhada. So these gatherings are a significant asset for the community, serving as a means of their education, their training. Here one can learn the manners, receive teachings from Quran, hadith, speeches about philosophy, history, beliefs, and ethics. And more importantly, the whole aza is there to train us. It's a tarbiyat gah. Right? You study and you gain knowledge, but just knowledge is not enough. the tarbiyat and the training along with that knowledge. I can attain the biggest degree, double PhD in something, but if I'm not practicing it, I'm the best surgeon out there as far as my degree is concerned, but I never practiced one day. I'm the best lawyer, but I never fought any cases. I'm the best at what I am. Or a marja taqleed. I attained that knowledge, but for myself, but I never preached it, kept it to myself. So practice is very important. Training is there. So this darsgah that we have, this institution that we have in the month of Muharram, is one of the best institutions there is. Young, old, men, women, all are invited to it. Muslim, non-Muslim, Shia, Sunni, all are invited to it. Because Hussein is not just belongs to one sect or one group. Hussein is universal. His message is universal. When his message is universal, everyone's invited. Nobody will come to listen to the majlis and the sacrifices of Sayyid al-Shuhada and say, well, this does not appeal to me. If provided and explained properly, everyone will say, I am Husseini as well. So therefore, request, humble request. When you will be coming, inshallah, this place will be flooded with people, inshallah. That hall, all the places. And this is something which happens every year. You don't need to invite people for this. People come on their own. All walks of life, people walk in. Be very mindful. We've arranged programs for younger kids. You send them over there or you keep them with you. This is where the tarbiyat happens. Child who may not even understand what the speaker is saying, but sitting with you is what he's going to remember when he grows up, that my father or my mother used to hold my hand and made me sit down and listen. Did not bring me to the masjid and say, wander around all you want to. They had no idea what I was doing. So make sure that you keep them with you and you remain focused. And you come with this sincerity and with this khulus. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I've mentioned this before in the past year, so I won't go through this again. But just to highlight, 3 groups of people that are involved in this majlis. One is the host, Bani Majlis. Second is the speaker, Zakir Majlis. Third is the audience, Sami' Majlis. Bani, Zakir, and Sami. All 3 have individual responsibilities, which of course I don't have time to go in the details of that as I have run out of my time. But these responsibilities, all 3 have one common responsibility. While the organizer has specific responsibilities, Zakir and the speaker has specific responsibilities. The listeners also have specific responsibilities. But all 3 have one common. And that common responsibility that all 3 share is khulus and sincerity. The organizer should be organizing with sincerity to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To please Sayyid al-Shuhada. And no one else. Not the people in my community or in my surrounding or my neighborhood or my family. That should be the last thing on your mind. That should not be on your mind. Similarly, those who stand on this podium or sit on that mimbar, their responsibility is what? Not to please the crowd, to gain some, respect for some time and some popularity for that matter. Make sure that you do the haqq of what? Get ready to listen. We need to prepare. Sami' Majlis also. We need to prepare ourselves and make ourselves immune to listening to Quran and Hadith. Don't be turned off when the speaker is talking about Quran and Hadith. No, the Maulana is talking about Quran and Hadith. You know who was reciting Quran from the top of the spear? Imam Hussein. When his head is brought into Kufa, people have bear witness. It said, we heard the ayat of Surah Kahf were being recited from the top of the spear. So get ready to listen to Quran. Get ready to listen to Hadith. These are kalam of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. This is what we're here for. And of course, the fadail are there. But fadail should be listened in a way that we adopt these fadail and implement those fadail. If someone mentions the shaja'at of Imam Hussein, does not mean that shajat stops over there and we remain timid and we remain coward. Now you hear about the shaja'at of Abul Fadl al-Abbas, you should also implement that shaja'at in you. You hear about the sabr of Zainab, you should also implement that sabr into you. That's the implementation of the fadail, and of course the radhail, the bad traits of the enemies that are mentioned. You stay away from those. I'll conclude as I've taken all of your time. Similarly, Sami'een Majlis, you guys, audiences, you have a responsibility as well. Maintain sincerity. Whoever the speaker or scholar may be, attend the gathering punctually. When a famous person arrives, people form queues. But if an unknown speaker comes, people tend to arrive at their own time. Majlis will start on its own, so and so is the speaker, it's not really attractive, so what? We'll go, just as a formality. What is your aqidah? Who comes to the majlis? Lady Fatima comes to majlis. So is she coming to majlis at the time that is given or at the time when you come? If that host of your majlis is sitting there and you're arriving late, just see how it makes you feel. It becomes evident that we came not for the sake of the remembrance of Hussein, but because of the reputation of the speaker. We didn't come for Zikr Hussein, we came for Zakir Hussein. That should not be the case. However, the organizers of the majalis should still invite good and knowledgeable speakers in order for us to benefit a great deal from them. So, Ayyam Aza are upon us, and make sure that we take care of the sanctity of this Azah of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We take care of the sanctity of the masjid. We take care of the sanctity when we're listening to the sacrifices. And there should not be a formality that another year of Muharram al-Haram, 1446, has arrived and has ended, and now we wait for the year 1447. Reform is needed. Your character should be different come 11th of Muharram, come 12th of Muharram. You'd be a different person. It gives you time to reflect upon yourself. Our hearts are already molded to an extent we're grieving. What is a grieving heart? A grieving heart is soft. And a soft heart is something you can go ahead and mold it however you want to. So use this opportunity to make it better, inshallah. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh al-mu'idha kitabullahi a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا اله الا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وسط اليدين بالرحمه سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا الا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد الا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب الا عفوا وصفحا نشهد ان لا اله الا هو اطوف على العباد بجوده والابعاد المظلمين بحلمه ونشهد ان محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمه للعالمين لا قدم رحم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاه على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفي ان الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا ايها الذين امنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيد نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي أثار البدع والطغيان آدم من الشرك والنفاق حاسد الفرو والبغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم أجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا وكن ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه وجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وولو في الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أحلو ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين ومن ممن يذكر فتنفع الذكر إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let us recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Syed Ahmad and as well as Naseem Hamid. Please recite Surah Fatiha for their marhumin as well as your own marhumin. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن. وصل على محمد وآل محمد. Just a quick recap of the email that had gone out regarding the announcement about Muharram al-Haram. Inshallah, the daily majalis will start from Saturday, that is tomorrow, until inshallah Thursday, which is July 18th. So that will be up until the Soyam of Sayyid al-Shuhada. And the daily majlis schedule will be 8:50 sharp. Salatul Maghrib will take place. Right after that, inshallah, 9:20. So Salam and Marsiya will take place. Following that, inshallah, simultaneous majalis in English and in Urdu. English will be here, and Urdu majlis will be in the Hazrat Abu Talib Hall. Speakers for the English majlis will be Dr. Ali Hilli from UK and Sheikh Amir Mukhtar Faizi in Urdu, inshallah, from Chicago. Both of these majalis, inshallah, will be relayed downstairs in the banquet halls for our sisters. And of course, majlis will conclude with matam at around 10:30. As I mentioned, keeping in mind the sanctity of the month, make sure that we are watchful of our children. A lot of people come, a lot of strangers come. This is a time when people you see, you've never seen them before. You got to be extra vigilant, be mindful, taking care of each other especially, and keeping an eye on your children and whereabouts. So for that, we have Al-Mahdi workshops, inshallah. They will be nightly, starting from Sunday to Sunday, July 14th. There's Camp Asghar for ages up to 4. There's Camp Sakina, which is for ages 4 to 7. Camp Onu Muhammad, which is for ages 8 to 11. And then there's also Camp Abbas for special needs and disabilities. All of these are available for children under 4 till children age 12. So therefore, take advantage of that. Or older than 12 should be sitting with you and listening to the lectures of the speakers that are being invited. Also, there will be Karbala timescape, a model that is developed as the days progress. Also, this year's annual blood donation drive will take place on Sunday, July 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Do take part in that as well, as we set a record last year with all the donations that we had gathered and all the lives that it saved. Also, in today's email that went out, there was information about enrollment into Sadiq School for the summer camps, as well as for the next academic year of 2024 and 2025. These were regarding the programs that are coming up. Of course, from tomorrow, the daily programs starting at Maghriban up until the day of Suyum, which will be these July 18th, as I mentioned earlier. Let's conclude by reciting Dua Sahat and Dua Shafa for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time. All over the world, especially locally over here, there's a request for Amma for Syed Mehdi Shah, who is in ICU and of course in need of your du'as. Let's recite this ayah Karima 5 times from Surah Namal together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض إلهم مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خازٍ فقير غائس مسكين مستكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرزق بعد الشدة اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك